Welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast. My name is Scott. I'll be your host today. Got an in-studio guest for you. I'm going to bring him on in just a moment. As always, you can find this in the back episodes of our podcast at our website. It's called ordinarymarathoner.com. Check it out if you get a chance. You can also find them on the aggregators, places like Stitcher and TuneIn and iTunes, of course. You can download that podcast app to your iPhone and look for Ordinary Marathoners. If you like the show, hit that subscribe button. You'll never miss a new episode that way. We also have our Facebook discussion group. It's called Ordinary Marathoners. Go figure. But it's a closed group, so you got to add yourself to it. Come join the conversation if you like, or you could be a lurker too. We accept all Facebook people over there. A really great group, really supportive. It's a great place to just go and talk about running, post your runs if you want, all that good stuff. Really a great group of people over there. You can also find me at Twitter, at Ord Marathoner. That's ORD Marathoner. And if you follow me there, I'll follow you back and we can get the discussion going on over there as well. Got our YouTube channel up and running. We were planning on posting weekly, but that ain't gonna happen. I don't have time to turn these things around and edit them, and it's, I'm trying my best, folks, here. I'm trying, but we'll get that channel up and running. Now, a couple weeks ago, we had Scott Farsard on. He was the owner of Forever Home Running, and he helped us out with our virtual race, the Ordinary Marathon. Well, he's doing another virtual race through his website. It's called Forever Home Running. That's Forever, F-U-R-E-V-E-R, homerunning.com. The race itself is called Run for the Polls. It's a sort of like a voting election day sort of theme. It's taking place 3 weeks before election day this year. So if you head on over to his site, foreverhomerunning.com, check out the races section. You can find it there. I think the race is about $30 to join it. I'm gonna be involved as well, and love to have you join us if you can. We'll post some of that information on the webpage as well. So on to my guest for today. Kind of an interesting show, I think, we have for you, because I don't really know where the conversation's going to go, but he's a good friend of mine. He's one of my neighbors, Michael Waterhouse. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Scott. It's really good to be here.
Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it. It's kind of weird, right? Like, it just,
Yeah, we're just hanging
out, having a beer. It's nice. It's a nice change of pace for the show.
It's like normal life.
Yeah, it's cool. So, I asked you to be on the show the other day, and your response, I don't know if you remember.
I don't.
I think it was why.
That sounds about right.
Why? I know sort of like the Ordinary Marathoners show, and you're a runner to a certain degree. Maybe, and my guess was that sort of the term marathoner is sort of, since you haven't run one, was sort of like turning you off a little bit or intimidating.
Oh, no, not at all. Well, I'm a half marathoner.
Right. That counts.
But no, it didn't turn me off at all.
So, we ran together. We did the Cheshire Half Marathon, last year, I believe, right? So 2017.
Yeah.
And you're in shape. You're, I know you run. So, you're still running, I would assume.
Yeah, currently it's like 15 to 20 miles a week. Usually it's in the middle of the day.
That's more than me, dude.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you can pop out 15 at a time.
I'm also
5
doing
miles,
the bike and
three different days. But yeah, I go during lunch when the sun's at its highest, so I get
that's extra. That's like an extra 2 mile.
Exactly.
Yeah, run extender.
I kind of use that because eventually I want to get back into those longer races, and I think that helps. Doing some hills in there as well. So
you do a lot of these like 5 mile runs, and I remember when we signed up for the half marathon. I don't think you had done that distance before.
I did.
Oh, you did once in Hartford.
I did the Hartford half marathon the prior year, which was really good, but I had those cramping issues, so I just realized that I'm probably not built for those long races. But I wanted to give it another try in Cheshire, and same thing. I had those crazy cramping issues.
Yeah, and I remember we started. I think in a race, like in a 5 mile race, I think you probably beat me every time. On that day, I was probably in the best shape of my life, and I wound up being ahead of you. But yeah, you get to, I remember you got to like mile 10.
Mm-hmm.
Describe like what was going on.
It's crazy.
And this was the same, like similar to Hartford.
Very similar to Hartford, almost at the exact same mileage. It was 9 miles in, and I just felt my legs just like tighten up completely. I was well hydrated, well rested. I felt like I did everything right, except for probably the most important thing, which was train. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I ran a lot, but I didn't train. There's a big difference between running and training, right? So I didn't do that, and I paid the price. I finished both races, and actually the Hartford one I did in just over 2 hours, so I was happy.
That's good.
So I was flying, you know.
And I think you were like in the 2:13,
something like that in Cheshire. Yeah,
and you said you with Cheshire, I know it was like a lot. It was once you hit the wall, you were pretty much walking.
Yeah, and I said to myself, I could push it like I did in Hartford and just be a mess, because after Hartford I remember incapacitated. I was ended up in the medical tent, but I learned a lesson. Well, maybe not good enough, because I needed to train more.
Yeah. But so you ever are you thinking about doing another one when at any point in the near future? Or are you thinking maybe next year?
I'd love to do another one.
Yeah,
I'd love to, but I feel like with the way I run, I'm speed. And I have to learn to taper that back. And I have to get a good training program. I mean, they're all over the place. You can find them anywhere, but I didn't do that. I'd go out and run my 5-mile runs or my 7-mile runs and be like, oh, I'm good. I feel great. I can do another.
And you're typically in that sub 9-minute pace, right? You're probably closer to 8 minutes.
No, when I go out running now, I do my 5-mile routes. It's like 7:45 is where I'm at.
He's fast. Folks, he's fast.
I'm not that fast, but
But you think about it. If you broke down and you still ran like a 2:13, 14, would you say the first one, 2:07?
Yeah.
That's still pretty good, man. That's respectable, especially for someone who broke down at the end.
Yeah. Oh, I know I was flying in the first several miles, and I felt good, and I was excited for it. Yeah. It was my first one. But,
right. I know exactly how you feel. You go out and then even like sometimes you get to like mile 5 or 6 and you're like, you feel so much better than you thought you would. That then you push forward and you push a little too hard. Yeah. It's happened to me. It happens to all of us. And then, so are you thinking of extending like your training runs at all? I mean, you probably do. I think you do them at like during your lunch hour.
Exactly. I leave work. It could be at noon. It's usually sometimes a little afternoon. I'll just bounce out and go. Yeah. 5 miles is my typical route. But if
you only have so much time.
Yeah, work is demanding, of course, but sometimes I'll even, throw out a 7-mile run, which feels really good because I feel like I've accomplished something after those. The 5-mile one is my usual, so it's, you're just out there getting it done, and I pretty much try to go for speed on those, because I know the route and it's pretty much the same every time.
Right. So we're going to get you signed up for another half.
Oh boy, is that what this is about?
I didn't think of this. It was a sabotage job coming in here.
I would love to do another one, seriously, but I have to train.
Yeah. I think you're a few weekends away. I think maybe you're like a month. Mm-hmm. And I think I bet a bunch of it is just the confidence.
I don't know, because I was confident. I know, I know I can do it. It was just and I think the diabetes had something to do with it too. Right. Like just shutting down
I was going to talk about that next too.
My body was saying, no, you're not going to do this. Even though I felt great. I wasn't winded. I had the energy. I felt like I did, but my body just said no. It was a physical thing at that point,
Yeah. So you brought up the diabetes, and it was kind of like I didn't know whether to bring it in the first half of the show or kind of bring it towards the end. But let's talk about it now.
Okay.
Because it's something that I don't have to deal with, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you know these stats offhand, like how many people actually suffer from this, and then how many people. Mostly. I mean, it's something that obviously you've overcome and you've been able to deal with.
Well, yeah, I think so. I don't know the statistics, but I would venture to say that it's an epidemic. So many people are
more than you think.
Exactly, and it's typically you see it in like the older folks that are obese, things along those lines. I mean, I'm 165 pounds of tiger meat in a stainless steel frame, but I have it. You know what I mean? I have type 1, so I got diagnosed with it, 20 some odd years ago. But you learn how to deal with it. But it's a process. So even on a 5-mile run, I have to think about where my blood sugar is before I leave, where it's going to be 2.5 miles in. It's a balancing act.
Yeah, so. I can imagine. And it's fun. Like I've gotten to know you probably over the last, I would say 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how long it took for me to know. I probably only found out because of the race.
I don't tell anybody.
Yeah, and the thing is, no one would know.
Which is kind of ironic because I'm sitting in a podcast where you're listening.
Right now, everyone. Right. That's kind of funny. And we're gonna have to tell everybody. You got to promo the show.
I'll wear a T-shirt.
Right. No, that's not. I have diabetes. That's a bad joke. So, like, is it a daily thing? Is it a daily routine that you have to go through to monitor it? I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's like literally, 4 shots a day, checking the blood sugar multiple times a day. That's if you want to stay healthy and feel good. Some people don't do that and they suffer the consequences of it. I remember thinking years ago that, this disease, because it is a disease, it's more powerful than I am, and I have to acknowledge it and kind of bow down to it and say, all right, I'm going to, know my limits on things and, be careful when I go on runs. So with the half marathons, I had a belt, I had, my hydration packs and all that good stuff. I had gel packs, I had salt pills, but even with all of that, I still wasn't prepared enough because my body, something happened. I really think it had to do with the diabetes.
So let me ask you this. If you run into trouble at the end of a race, is it more, it would seem to me that you are more at risk for sort of like a more serious type, I would say injury, but more like a breakdown or potential hospitalization or something like that. Like now I'm nervous about you. Then, forget about the half marathon. Let's stick to the 5Ks for now.
Just walk it. I've been doing this for so long, so I'm really cognizant of it. But you're right. It could be life threatening if you don't pay attention to it because, hypoglycemia is what you would really be worried about, where your blood sugar's low essentially. And, your brain can get funky. It's all consuming. You don't want to have that happen.
Are there like symptoms or signs that you start noticing? Like do you start getting dizzy or do you start,
Yeah, it's different for every person. Some people actually have like hypoglycemic unaware where they don't know what's happening. They don't know what's happening, but their blood sugar is really low. I do. I mean, I get shaky. I know when it's happening almost every time. So yeah, there's warning signs.
You're a little shaky right now, but I think you might just be nervous.
Get me some jelly beans quick.
But yeah, I mean, it's no laughing matter, I guess. It seems to me too, like you have to be disciplined. You say 4 shots a day and you have to constantly check your blood. This is a little off topic, but I had Sam's 9-year appointment yesterday. Mm-hmm. So we take her to the doctor and, they pricked her finger and she got all upset and, they're pulling the blood out of the finger with the little test tube. And I'm like, man, this kid's like screaming bloody murder after one, and you probably do this like 10 times a day.
Well, I do. I scream bloody murder every time. I'm crying tears, No,
you got to get used to that.
Of course you get used to it.
And does it, like the method, is it like,
same thing what you see in the doctor's office?
It's just a
little tool.
needle.
You just zap yourself and test the blood.
And so do you actually give yourself like injections of like insulin? Is that?
Yeah, 4 times a day. But a lot of people with type 1 at my age and who've had it for this long, they'll get a pump. But which is great. I mean, it's people who use the pump tend to be better managed from what I've read. Right. But I just don't want something attached to me all the time. And plus I'm very aware of it. So I take care of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I mean, man, I think it takes a lot of discipline, and it's like, again, like I would have never known that, that you do that. Yeah. It's like, what do you like, have you ever like been at the house and been like, oh, I got to go use the men's room and like you're shooting
when we go out to dinner, I'll go to the bathroom and that's, I take care of it, So if you ever see me disappear for a minute.
See, I didn't even know. So, I mean, you add that into the mix and obviously you're still in good shape. You're still running. And it's just like an added level of, I get upset when my alarm rings in the morning and I'm like, oh, I got to put on my shoes to go run. Like that's all I got to do and I don't do it.
It's a routine, and plus running for, several years. I mean, you just kind of build that into your routine. You test the blood before you go. If it's too low, you have a little snack before you leave. And that also brings into the equation things like, runners tend to get like upset stomachs if you go for long distances. So there's only certain things that I would eat, before I go out.
A lot of planning, even more for you.
Yeah, you make it part of your routine. I mean, some people have it much worse. This is, I certainly would never complain about it. It is what it is,
Now, do you worry about like when you eat something, do you look at like the grams of sugar or do you look like, is there like a certain, is it a balance or you just need sugar? Like, can you have too much or you can...
You can't, of course, you can certainly have too much or too little. And it's carbohydrates is really what I look at, which is, there's all different kinds of sugars, right?
Right.
But a lot of them will just convert to carbohydrates. So that's what I'm interested in, how many carbs is this going to give me and how much insulin do I have to take to offset it? So if I'm going for a run, I won't take the same amount of insulin that I would normally take for a bagel, let's say, if I take 3 units of insulin for a bagel, typically I'll take 1 if I'm going on a run, so it's just...
That's a lot of work, man.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. See, I'm never going to complain again. I just got to put my shoes on and go. All right, listen, let's cut to the break. We'll be right back with Michael Waterhouse. Hey guys, my friend Lauren is creating an incredible resource for runners and triathletes. It's called raceadvisors.com. She has amassed a list of thousands of races, 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, marathons, ultramarathons, and triathlons, and anything in between. If you're thinking about running a race, look it up and check out the reviews. Have a favorite race of your own? Look it up. See what others have to say about it. Or better yet, leave a review of your own. raceadvisors.com. Read it, race it, review it. I may not have a lot of hair, but I tell you, I know style when I see it. And I know you guys and gals with the flowing locks, you need something functional to keep that hair out of your face when you go on your daily run. And I have just the thing for you. It's called Greasy Girl Headbands. And I know what it sounds like, but it's not spelled that way. It's GREECIE, girlheadbands.com. They make headbands that are specially designed for the runner to keep that hair out of your face, out of your eyes when you're out there on your daily run. So check them out. GreasyGirlHeadbands.com, GREECIE, and find a design that's perfect for you. All right, we're back with Michael Waterhouse from break here. So, Mike, I wanted to ask you, for say like the general population listening. So maybe there's someone out there who is either diabetic or potentially diabetic, or maybe they're diabetic and they're either using it as excuse or as they just can't overcome that challenge of this discipline that you have to do this routine all the time. What would your message be, to someone that's like, oh, this is a lot to overcome. Like, how do you attack it? And how would you tell someone, like, what kind of advice would you give somebody, who maybe is using it as an excuse or really wants to overcome it and doesn't know how?
Okay. So what's coming to my head right now is, so if there's somebody that, is using it as an excuse or maybe is scared, right, to go out and run because of the complications that could happen, that person's doctor will tell them the one medication or the one prescription that their doctor would give them that could help not only their diabetes, but the risk of heart disease, their blood pressure, is exercise. So
there you go.
Get out and run. I mean, you can pack snacks in a pack. You know what I mean? You can bring that stuff with you. But yeah, I mean, if you exercise in general is great for people who have diabetes, people in general, but particularly people who have diabetes. You can lose the pounds, you strengthen your heart, all that good stuff. So I would say take that prescription. Definitely exercise. Don't be afraid, because I mean, those of us that love to run, we know what it feels like when you have a good one, right? And it feels awesome. So
is there any connection with blood pressure and diabetes at all, or no?
Well, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know the answer to that, but I will say that those people that have elevated blood pressure, people with diabetes can have renal manifestations, kidney manifestations, and you don't want that. So controlling your blood pressure is crucial for people who
I just was asking because exercise, to me, I had a little bit elevated blood pressure at one point. I started exercising and it came way down, and now it's, they put me on these the first round of medications, which was kind of like a salt pill or whatnot. And then I kind of, I didn't see the doctor for a while. I went back after starting to run, and they were just shocked that I was ever on the salt pill to begin with, because my blood pressure had come all the way down. So that's the reason why I ask, is because it seems like, that's there might be a connection there between the exercise and being in good health, and if exercise helps blood pressure, maybe, and diabetes. I just thought maybe there was a connection.
Exercise is good for everything, right? Blood pressure, heart disease, even people who have those things, you want to get out there and take care of your body.
So now something else comes to mind, perhaps because you mentioned it at break, but it was another race. So it was not the half marathons that we talked about, but I want to say it was last year. You participated in a Ragnar relay.
Yeah.
In Cape Cod, right?
Yeah.
Now it seems, as a diabetic, as someone who needs to monitor and take care of themselves to more of a degree than your average runner, a multi-day event where you're stuck in a van probably half the time sounds like a recipe for disaster.
it was awesome. It was a challenge, and I like challenges. So that was, plus, like we said earlier, I don't advertise it. So I'm trying to hide this, this issue. Not
in the van, but you just
not
keep
make
to yourself, right?
Yeah. So it was, but it was certainly challenging, but we got through it. And our team, I don't remember, we placed very high in that race. We had some a couple of guys who like ran in college, and they were just like ridiculous.
Yeah. So before we get into it too much, because I think most of my listeners probably know what a Ragnar relay is, but let's from a top end, why don't you describe like how they run it and how it, like, if I was to say, if you said, I did a Ragnar relay, and I said, what's that? How would you describe it?
Well, I'd say you get a group of your best mates, right? And you pile in one van or two vans, because they have groups of 6 or groups of 12. We were in a group of 12. You go to the starting point. Each runner gets a few different legs, and you travel over 200 miles from end to end. And it's camaraderie. It's great running. It's challenging.
And through the night, right?
Through the night, yeah. I mean, one of my legs, I think, was at like 3 a.m. It was pitch black out. I remember that. It was kind of scary running through the back roads of the cave.
Now, is the van always with you, or does the van go up to like a checkpoint? Or?
Yeah, so that you'll get out of the van, you'll start your leg, and then the van will pass you as they're going to where you end up. You know, so that you do the handoff to the next runner doing the next leg. But it was amazing.
Really
loved it. It was a great experience. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. I love when people get excited about, and it sounds like you probably didn't, were your legs, like the legs that you had to do, were they long? Like, what was your?
I think my first one was 3, my second one was 6, and then my last one was 7 uphill. That was the toughest 7 miles I ever ran in my life, but it was great.
Now, do you get enough rest in between where you feel sort of refreshed when you start the next leg, or was it like cumulative?
I felt like I got rest, and I brought like a roller, so I was like working out my legs, drank a lot of muscle milk, bananas, that kind of thing, because you bring everything you need in the van.
Yeah.
And so I definitely, we all prepped and made sure that we took care of ourselves, and we didn't have any. One guy had like a knee issue, I recall, and he had to bow out of a leg, and somebody picked him up.
You can sub, right?
Yeah, you can sub out, but that's what teamwork's about. You just you pick each other up.
Right. Would you do it again?
Oh, I absolutely would.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It was that cool, huh?
It was awesome. Not only, I mean, plus, when I see a person with a Ragnar sticker on their car or a T-shirt, I'm like, did you run the Cape Cod one? So it's like, the running community in general. I don't know if you must experience this. Yeah. It's a community.
Yeah.
When you know somebody's a runner, it's the
bumper stickers, as you said. It's like,
immediate, So yeah, I would definitely do it again. And this race that I ran was with people. I knew one person, this woman that asked me to join up. I didn't know anybody else. We were all friends by the end, but I would love to do one with people that I know really well, because that would make it even better.
Right. Because you kind of it was like sort of a group, and you might have known a couple people, but you didn't know everybody in that group. You were like a late invitee.
I think I was, because I think I was like the 11th runner that joined up of 12,
Right.
So yeah, which meant I didn't get to choose my leg early on. You know what I mean?
No, you just got whatever was left over.
I got the leftovers, yeah.
So, I mean, let me ask you this, because I have never done a training run or any kind of run at night, in the darkness. Primarily in this area, like I get nervous about wildlife. Yeah. It's not that bad around here. Maybe, but like it's not like bears are nocturnal and they're going to be out there. Yeah. Though there's occasional bear spotting around here. Yeah. Like probably the worst you could probably have is a dog, like a nasty dog or something, and that's not really. That's a long shot too. I just get nervous about cars, but we have sidewalks around here for the most part. Yeah. So had you run at all at night before that, or that was your first time?
When I was much younger, I used to run at night all the time. Matter of fact, I used to live on the Cape in the summertime, and I would run at night on the Cape, strangely enough. But the course is marked, and you get a headlamp. I had this
right, so
you can see, but it is kind of eerie in the middle of the night.
When it's quiet.
There's no noise, and cars aren't expecting to see runners on the side of the road, so you have to keep your head in a swivel.
Yeah.
And as for vermin,
it is what it is.
I did see. So I can give you the story. Do I have time to give you the story?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was on my second leg, and it was very early in the morning, and I felt like I was lost because I didn't see markers.
That's got to be nerve-wracking.
It was a little nerve-wracking, because I wanted to save my energy as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you wind up running. You think you're going to run 7, you run 10.
Exactly. So I'm going along thinking, where the hell am I? Am I going to get back to civilization soon? And I heard this god-awful noise. I felt like I jumped like 5 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
It was a turkey. It was like right next to me.
That's a great story.
So I remember actually at Thanksgiving last year saying, carving the bird, saying, I hope this isn't the same one.
It could have been the same one. That would have been good redemption for you. Exactly. Serves you right for scaring me.
Bizarre. It was just this bizarre sound, like nothing I've ever heard.
We do have like a lot of wild turkey that roam around here.
Yeah.
I saw one on my last bike ride down in Suffield, Connecticut. Mm-hmm. It's I think for some reason, the Northeast, we do have, like, for the most part, a really good mix. Like, I don't know, I go out for a run and I see rabbits, I see, the squirrels are all over. They're a little dirty. I could do without the squirrels.
Filthy animals.
But we get tons of birds and turkeys. I had a fox one day, and it's better when you're on the bike. And actually the trail I ride is there's been a couple bear sightings
really
in the last couple of years, and but I'd rather be on the bike than on the run.
Don't pack a pocket full of jerky on your runs where there's bears. Right?
No, you could throw it actually. Maybe you should. You throw it away and they go and get it. So all right, so I think we've kind of gotten this conversation down, and I'm over my guilt of asking you to do another half for your own. I'm not going to be worried about your own personal health. Pretty sure you can take care of yourself. So when are we getting you into another race?
Well, if I say I don't know, I know you're going to be calling me, texting me every day saying, "Hey, I got a new one coming up." So you call the next one, and I'd be happy to join.
Okay. Well, here's an interesting. You know what?
It's tomorrow.
No. Here's an interesting idea. Is that so? I've been looking for a fall marathon to do.
Okay.
I haven't done. Well, I did a full I did New York last year, but that really, I was running with Stephanie and her friend, and it was just sort of a run to finish. And I'm due to do another marathon where I run and try to beat my PR, which is beatable. And I was looking at Hartford.
Wait a minute.
Now listen, no.
Okay.
I know where you're going. I know you get nervous. Okay. I know you get nervous. So if I ran the full and you ran the half,
okay,
which is October.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you could drive. I figure by the time I finish, you'll be nice and rested.
I'm not opposed to that. So maybe your listeners can share their half marathon training routines.
That's true. We probably have
I would
some
love
out
a good
there.
one. Maybe even somebody who has diabetes that maybe there's somebody out there that has a good training routine.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I wonder. I would bet that there's like a top level. Not someone that necessarily listens to the podcast, but like it seems like the advances in how they treat diabetes as a disease. I mean, and it's almost like it's you you hide it and no one knows, and yet you're fast. And granted, you've had that issue at the 10-mile mark, but I would bet that there's like an upper echelon marathon or somewhere that has diabetes that either people know or they.
There's athletes out there that
it's like 100 years ago. This would have been a real big problem for you.
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, I can't imagine 100 years ago that I would have been out, running.
No.
4 or 5 times a week. It just wouldn't happen.
It's incredible that. I think having known you for 3 years, and not really knowing that you go through this routine all the time, it's sort of like it's an added level of respect. No, seriously, man. Seriously, it takes a lot of discipline. And granted, you kind of have to do it. Mm-hmm. The alternative is that you will feel like shit the whole time.
Pretty much, yeah. You feel like garbage. Yeah.
So I know I'm cursing on my own podcast, and you went with the garbage route. But I think it's sort of like it's definitely like an added level of I don't know. I say respect.
Well,
that you're able to take care of yourself.
I appreciate that.
But listen, I'm gonna go and. I have a coach myself, and I would bet that he has, if he doesn't know a good training routine, that he's in touch with someone. And there's there's websites that you could pull training things
certainly.
from. But I don't, they're not necessarily probably geared towards people with diabetes, but maybe there's something out there.
I bet you there probably is.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to figure that out, and maybe we'll give it a go at Hartford this year,
right.
Which that would be my commitment then because I've been sort of uncommitted for way too long. I want to do a fall race. I haven't decided. Hartford is like a half an hour from us. Mm-hmm. It's pretty convenient. You've done it before.
It's a great
You've done
race.
The half.
The route is great.
It's somewhat flat, right? I hear.
Yeah, there was only a couple of hills that I recall. Nothing extraordinary.
Yeah. So yeah, this could work, man. I'm thinking about it. Well, I'm committed. I'm committed if you're committed.
I'm in with you. Right. As long as I can just do the half.
No, you're in for the half. I'm just looking for a ride.
Deal.
Someone to carry my ass home afterwards, It's gonna be miserable. It's gonna be a slog for me. But I don't know, man. I think, if I can train and be on a good, training focus for the rest of the summer.
You've done it before.
Yeah. I mean, I know I can finish. I need to get into better shape than I was in, and my PR in a marathon is 5:15, which for me, like at this point in my running career, I want to be better.
I understand.
So, you know, it is what it is. I've kind of slacked off when it came to this Ironman, and I'm trying to pretend it doesn't exist. Like it doesn't just sit there right in the middle. It's really like 31 days away. Not that I was counting.
Good luck with that. I don't know how you do it. That's so impressive.
Yeah, well, I might not. I think I'm going to start because you pay so much money.
Yeah.
And it's going to be either the way I put it was I'm either going to miss a cutoff time and they're going to tell me to stop, or I'm going to finish by accident. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
And Sam is coming up that week to watch. So it's like one of those things where
you got to show up. You got to do it.
Oh, I've really I put myself in a bad spot. Anyway, you got to get out of here so I can go on a training run. All right, we're going to wrap it up there. Mike, thanks so much for coming on, man. This was great.
Happy to be here. It's good just to hang out. This is a bonus. So
it's nice. It's been like a really cool, laid back discussion. And I think really like valuable. I think, people out there that have diabetes that hear this conversation, I think, I think they'll find a lot of value in it.
That's great. Good.
Yeah. So cool. If you help just one person.
That's it.
I think you've helped me. So maybe if you help 2 people. That'll be good. Anyway, so for next week, I got a couple ideas who we're going to bring on the show. I'm not sure. I have no commitments yet. You know how I work, which is basically I don't really set an agenda or plan anything. I just kind of like call my friends at the last minute and have them come over and be on the podcast. So that being said, we'll cut it there today, and I'll see you guys next week. And always remember, when it comes to running, I'm no expert. I'm just ordinary.